Hello again everybody and welcome back to another episode of Down to Earth with Jim, where today we're going to be talking about what to sow in April. Now there are plenty of things which you can be sowing in April. In fact, most things you can sow in April, but these are just some of the things which I'm going to be sowing. But before we get into that, I'd just like to introduce myself to those of you who are new to my channel. I'm James and this is my gardening channel where I talk about everything vegetable gardening related and allotment gardening related, and just try and share what tips and advice and knowledge that I have really, and hopefully try and learn some new things off you as well. So it's now April, which means most things we can actually sow now that the ground has warmed up much more and the sun has become much stronger as well, and the risk of frost is also starting to diminish as well. Now we are probably going to still be getting some frosts in May, but it's going to be much more few, and the days are getting longer as well, so there is much more which we can sow. And the first thing which I'm going to be sowing this month, or many of things actually, to be honest, there's quite a few of these, I'm going to be sowing squashes and pumpkins. Now I've got many different varieties of squash and pumpkin which I'm going to be sowing this month. In fact, I've already sown a few, but I'm probably going to be sowing a few more. Now we've got butternut squash Hunter, a really nice variety there. We've got spaghetti squash. This was really nice last year, and it's nice to just scoop out, and it's a little bit like spaghetti, hence the name. So we're going to be growing those again. We've got an ornamental mixture of squashes, some gourds there, which will be an interesting, some interesting displays at Halloween time towards the end of this year. We've got another variety of squash, tromboncino. Whoops, the package just fell out then. Tromboncino squash, which are these really nice long, like trombones, really long ones. But they're quite nice as well. We're going to be growing these in the horse manure bed, I think, this year. Then we're also, if I can find them, where are they? Where has he gone? Where has he gone now? So we're also going to be sowing some Dill's Atlantic Giant pumpkin, which is what I'm going to be growing as the single seed challenge. Now, if you've never heard of the single seed challenge, it's basically where you grow one seed of one vegetable of your choice, and you put all your focus on that one plant. So you can only grow one seed, hence the name single seed challenge, and it just allows you to appreciate the growth and sort of concentrate on it much more than growing loads of different ones. So I'm going to be taking part in the single seed challenge this year, and my choice is going to be Dill's Atlantic Giant, which is quite an interesting variety. Now, I grew this a couple of years ago and I got a really big pumpkin from this. So I'm going to try it again, and yeah, I can appreciate every step of the growth, and I will be recording and documenting every step of the growth along the way as well. So that's all the squashes and the pumpkins out of the way. Now the second thing which we're going to be growing is courgettes. We're going to be sowing those this month, and this variety is Defender F1, which is a disease-resistant variety. Now I have had problems with cucumber mosaic virus in the past, so this one is less prone to that disease. So yeah, I'm going to be sowing probably just a couple of these this month, because usually we end up getting bombarded with courgettes. Now the third thing which we're going to be sowing this month is something which I always sow bang on in the middle of April, and I always end up getting really good results doing it that way. And those are beans. And we're going to be growing quite a lot of beans this year, because we do eat quite a lot of them, and they are really good for storing, whether you be canning them or freezing them. We like to grow them. So I've got a load of Scarlet Emperor runner bean seeds which are saved from last year here, which I'm going to be sowing. I've got another variety of runner bean which I'm trying this year, just going to try a few of them, and it's White Emergo. That's supposed to be a stringless variety, so I'm going to give them a go, see how they are, see if I like them more than Scarlet Emperor or not. Now I have always grown Scarlet Emperor, so we will see. It's good to try new things sometimes. So we're also going to be growing a few of these. This variety is called Blue-Hailed, if I'm pronouncing that correct. I'll write it on the screen. But these are a purple podded French bean, and I found that the pods, when you eat them young, they are quite nice to eat as you would normally with fine beans. Or you can just leave them on the vine and let them sorry, that made me jump. You can just leave them in the pods until them beans get to a nice size, and you can dry them, or you can just add them to curries and stuff like that. The beans themselves, and they are really nice. I like the texture of them. And we're also going to be growing some French bean Blue Lake. I don't have the seeds with me here; they're at home, but we're going to be growing some of them as well. So there's a massive variety of different beans which we're growing this year, on top of the broad beans as well, which we already have out there. But we're not going to be sowing any more of those. Now, the fourth thing which we're going to be sowing this month is sweet corn. I've already sown a few of them actually, but this is something you can sow in April. I've done mine a little bit earlier than normal because we usually only end up with sweet corn around September time, and that's quite late really. I want to get some sweet corn in July and August, so I've started them the other week. But April, a good time to start sweet corn, and this variety is called Incredible F1. I've sown about 100 of these. There's flies everywhere in here. Now, the fifth thing which we're going to be sowing in April, and it's actually going to be a successional sowing, is beetroot. I've got two varieties, Bold Hardy and Rainbow Mix. A really nice mixed variety of rainbow coloured beetroot, which is really interesting. So we're going to be sowing more of those in a couple of weeks, and I may actually release a video on how I sow mine, because some people have asked me to do a video and I do it a little bit differently to the way some other people do them. So I may make a video on that. Let me know if you'd like to see that. So beetroot, number 5, and number 6, you can sow more carrots and parsnips in April as well. Now, I'm probably not going to bother doing many more carrots because I have got a bed full of them outside, but I may do more parsnips. Now, they do take a very long time to germinate, even at this time of year when the soil is starting to warm up. So one way of speeding this up is to get a Tupperware tub or a Ziploc bag or something like that, and stick some damp paper towel in there with the parsnip seeds on them, and stick them in a warm place like a boiler cupboard or something like that, and that will sprout them. And then when they're sprouted, you can just pop them in outside and they'll be off to a start then, because parsnip seeds can take up to 2 months to germinate. I did some outside around, can't really remember when it was, but it was around early February, and they've only just started coming up now, and it's beginning of April, so they have taken a very long time to come up. Now, the next thing which we're going to be sowing more of in April is some more brassicas. Now, we've got some more broccoli which we're probably going to be sowing, because we've got some already on the bench here which we'll be getting a harvest from in somewhere in the next 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks probably. So in a couple of weeks I'm going to be sowing more of these, so that once these have produced heads of broccoli, I will then have another harvest a few weeks later. So that's going to be a successional sowing, and the same with cabbage as well. I've got a few of those here, but I'm going to be sowing a few more, so that when we've eaten all these, we'll have another lot ready to give us another harvest. As well as that, I'm also going to be sowing some more. I'm going to try sowing some kalettes, which is a cross between Brussels sprouts and kale. I'm going to be trying a few of them to see how they do. Now, the next thing which I'm going to be sowing more of this month, which is something we've already got a few of, which have gone outside, that is lettuce. I've got a mixed packet of lettuce here, and these are really, really nice. I grew these last year and they were lovely. Now, I've already stuck some outside now, and they're growing happily in the bed outside. And in another week or two, I'm going to sow some more of these, so that when these lot are finished, will be planting these ones outside, probably in a shaded spot though, because lettuces and stuff like that can be quite prone to bolting when they're exposed to high temperatures. And with it being now April, by the time these go outside, it will probably be June when it starts to heat up. So I will make sure that they're shaded. But I found that these were quite slow to bolt last year. They were giving us pickings for a good 2 months, so I was quite happy with those. Now, another really good one which you can be sowing in April, which you can sow much earlier, during late winter actually, but April is also a good time to be sowing them, and those are peas. This variety is Monge 2, but I think I'm going to be sowing some Kelvedon Wonder, which is a dwarf variety of pea, and I'm just going to be sowing a few of those because I quite like picking a few fresh peas from the pod, eating them raw as a snack when I'm down at the allotment, or just picking a few of them just to have with a couple of meals. I'm not growing a massive amount of peas because we don't eat that many of them, but they are something which I really do like to grow at the plot because I think they taste much better than them frozen peas that you get at the supermarket. Fresh peas just taste completely different. So I'm going to be growing a few of those. I'm probably going to be growing them alongside my runner beans actually. So when the weather does warm up, runner beans are going to act as like a shade, so they're not exposed to the high temperatures. Because if I sow them now, they're going to be cropping probably around about June time when it just starts to warm up. So then runner beans are going to be shooting up the poles at that point. So yeah, they're going to act as shade for them peas as well. Now we have a massive problem with pigeons on our site. So not only do we have to cover brassicas over and things like that, but peas are also loved by the pigeons for some reason. They just completely strip the leaves until there's nothing left. So we have to net them over as well. So I find that to be quite a pain. So that is one reason why it's a dwarf variety of pea which I am growing, because they're much easier to net over, and I found that you can just grow them up twigs. You get twigs that are like a foot long and just stick them into the ground, and they are enough for them dwarf peas to grow around and up. But funnily enough, they don't like targeting sweet peas for some reason, and I'm quite glad because sweet peas can grow very tall. So if I had to net them over, it would look very unsightly and it'd be very hard to do. So I'm very glad that they don't like sweet peas. Now April is also a good month to be sowing our main crop, potatoes. Now the traditional time to sow our potatoes, a lot of gardeners say is around St. Patrick's Day in March, but I sow my second earlies around about mid to late March. Now I'm going to be sowing my main crop potatoes now at the beginning of April. So April is a really good time to be sowing our main crop potatoes, and I've planted Setanta, Sarpamera, and King Edward main crop potatoes, and I've also got a few seed potatoes left which I managed to save from last year, which were too small. So I'm just going to throw them in and see how they do. So the next one is potatoes. Of course, you have to bear in mind that the things such as the courgettes, the squash, the pumpkins, the beans. Oh, there's a wasp! Whoa! Wasp! Alright, it's gone. Sorry about that. It was trying to land on me and sting me, so I don't really want to. I wouldn't be really happy about that. So, right, anyway, back to what I was saying before. So you have to bear in mind that with the squash, the pumpkins, the runner beans, the tomatoes, all them different tender crops, you will be sowing them in April, but it will be under cover. I have to stress that, it's really important. Under the cover of a greenhouse or a polytunnel, or at home on your windowsill. Because if you were to grow them outside now in April, which is there's a high chance that there will be some spring frosts, they will just completely be obliterated. And the sweet corn as well, sorry. So all these different tender things like the brassicas, the carrots, the parsnips, the salad leaves, and stuff like that, the beetroot, they are all quite cold hardy. So you can directly sow them outside, but with the tender things, it's better to start them indoors, and make sure you're hardening them off as well in May when your last frost date is. But be sure when your last frost date is. Mine is around the middle to the late of May. So I'm always keeping an eye on the temperatures, the weather forecast in May to make sure that there's no risk of frost. And for about a week or two, I will be taking them out for a few hours at a time and then bringing them back into the greenhouse again, just to get them used to the conditions outside, because they're going to be used to the controlled conditions of a greenhouse, which is much warmer. There's no rain, there's no wind, so you need to make sure that you're getting them tender crops ready for being planted outside. Otherwise, they're going to become shocked by the changing conditions. So around about mid-May, these tender things here will be planted outside into my plot. Now, a couple of years ago, I had planted these things out at the middle of May, and there was a last-minute spring frost which completely wiped them all out, and I had to start again. And the courgettes and the sweet corn and the beans were quite badly affected. So yeah, do keep that in mind. Now, those are just some of the things which I'm going to be sowing this month, and there are many, many more things which you can sow this month. As I said, April is the month where you can get pretty much anything sown, really. Do let me know what you're growing in the comments below, and if you like the video, then remember to hit that thumbs up button and consider subscribing to the channel as well if you're new, and you can start seeing more content just like this one. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. I hope you all stay safe and happy gardening.